Hi, I'm sick again. With a series as old as Shin Megami Tensei, there's bound to be some lost and obscure media associated with it. So let's take a moment and go over those kinds of topics related to the franchise. I'm sorry for the long title. I really am.
This is a tough case, even for Junpei Iori, ace detective.
Persona 3, what a game, came out in 2007 and made Atlus forget the existence of Maya Tatsuya and the Boy with Earrings. Jokes aside, there's no argument that this game added staples to the series such as the social link system. Persona 3 was also the first Persona game that stepped away from the isometric game design of the previous two games. But what if it wasn't always like that? According to some videos found on Silicon Era's website, there's some clips of an early in-development Persona 3. The footage also features an early design of Makoto Yuki as well. In the article, it notes that series director Katsuro Hashino wanted Persona 3 to have a seamless battle transition. However, due to memory issues, it had to be changed to a not as seamless battle transition. This article also speculates about Persona 5 in 2014, which makes me feel pretty old. The article states that it got this information from a blog Katsura made 6 years after Persona 3's release, so I decided to look into these blogs. I found a few of them through the Wayback Machine on the old Atlus website that looks pretty depressing without Adobe Flash.
More like stupe, ace defective.
We'll talk more about that later. Now I gotta say, these blogs are pretty neat to read through. Like this blog where Katsura goes over goofy, silly, funny, silly, goofy images he made during the development of the game. Look at these funny images. Now as goofy and silly as some of these pictures are, some of them are quite neat. Notice something about this picture? This picture used the mock-up UI alongside the dude from the early beta, and that's not all. I also found these concept interfaces, which also use the early Persona character designs, though in this case I believe that they're just here as placeholders. If you want to check out these blogs, then I'll leave them in the description if you're curious. If you're feeling a little artistic, then I recommend some of Shigenori Sojima's blogs, where he goes over the design and art process of his work. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, the Persona 3 beta. While there's a little to no chance of this build of the game getting released, there is a 2007 beta build of Persona 3 available on Hidden Palace. It isn't the build from the footage. Heck, this build was made around the time Persona 3 came out in Japan. Either way, it's still pretty neat to look into the development of Persona 3.
Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne would never take advantage of our innate gullibility.
Ooh, that's good news. Thank you, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Now get me my supper, woman.
Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is totally a game I played. Except that's a lie, I've never played that game. But for the sake of the video, let's just pretend that I have, and the game is about a demon dude in a demon world or something, and maybe the apocalypse. I'm not sure, but oh yeah, there's a tech demo that's lost. Isn't that kind of neat, right? Right. So the Shin Megami Tensei 3 tech demo had quite a few differences compared to its final release, according to what the cutting room floor and what the Lost Media wiki has to say about it. One thing was the plot, which was also found in an interesting way too, with the script literally being left over in Japanese copies of the game, which is pretty great. Okay, so since I've totally played Shin Megami Tensei 3, I'm gonna try to recap what I understand was going on in the beta build of the game. So just trust me on this, because I've totally played Shin Megami Tensei 3. So the story involves the player waking up to a conflict between two demons, Anat and Amaterasu, with Amaterasu wanting to collect some sacred treasures to take over Dark Tokyo, and Anat sending you to kill Amaterasu. From there you go to a zoo, and you meet an Amaterasu underling named Taki Mikazuchi. They tell you that Ami is cursed and needs the treasures to cure themselves. From there you can choose between two branching paths, the Taki Mikazuchi route or the Anat route, with the Taki Mikazuchi route being a plot to find the treasures, and the Anat route being a plot to find Amaterasu. So, that's the story. What about the gameplay? Are there any differences? Well, from what I can understand, yeah. It was reported to be similar to previous Shin Megami Tensei titles, with demons with the highest speed stat going first. There was a more advanced negotiation system, and you can analyze the enemy to see how they behave rather than just being random. I can only assume this was done so that more players can feel agony in their playthroughs. Interestingly enough, some clips of the tech demo can be found in a making-up documentary for SMT3, which can be found on YouTube, so if you want to watch that, I'll link that down below.
これがフィールドですね。上野動物園とか書いてありますけど、実際は完成版にも全然。
Oh yeah, and since we're talking about Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, let's talk about how Atlus kinda tongue-gooped its music. So, you can take a moment to listen to some of these wonderful tracks. Okay, so maybe the first two didn't sound that bad or noticeably bad. I would say that I don't really hear that much either. I just heard that from Reddit. But yeah, this last one might be a bit noticeable. Maybe a little bit noticeable. You'll see. So notice how they sound a little compressed, especially the last one. Some people think that the compression happened because of the PS2 disk space, though that's not really the case, however. It was because of the RAM limitations, or random access memory. Atlus didn't want to purchase a compression algorithm for their game, so instead they compressed it. Keep in mind, other Atlus games actually did license compression algorithms. Why Nocturne was treated this way, I don't know. Surely the remaster that was released nearly 17 years later would solve this issue.
No way! I can't believe this!
Apparently, Atlus just didn't bother to re-record the music. So, like, why didn't they just use the audio from before it was compressed by the RAM limitation? Well, apparently it's because they lost the original audio. Huh. Well, you know, I guess if Atlus won't fix it, then the fans will. Good job, fellas. In 2005 was a report by GameSpot that Atlus canceled some games, but didn't really say which ones. The article includes a list of games that were in development at the time, so let's take a look at the list. The first game is a game called Jam Jam Hype for the GameCube. This is a strange one since Jam Jam Hype, according to my Jam Jam Hype is a name for a song in a different game called Go Go Hypergrind. It's weird because, like, I would assume that the journalist got the game and the song mixed up, but, like, this article came out 2 years after Go Go Hypergrind released, and I found a, like, empty Metacritic page for Jam Jam Hype. So, like, I'm not really sure if this was, like, a canceled title or not, or, like, they were planning for a sequel to Go Go Hypergrind, but, like, something happened. It's a little strange. There's an EX Jinsei game for the PSP. At least I can find more in this game than Jam Jam Hype. From what I read, it's a game based off a board game that's similar in vein to the Game of Life. Looking at the list on Wikipedia, I can tell that it's a game with quite a number of ports. I guess it's a shame that PSP players will never get their hands on this game. Next up is Max on the PSP, or as IGN calls it, Max Portable. I don't know much about this game aside from Max Portable and PSP X Jinsei. Were both announced at the 2004 Tokyo Game Show conference. Sad day for all those Max fans. A Shin Megami Tensei game for the DS. Well, we can tell with hindsight that a few SMT games did come on the DS, with one being called Trumps, with some being Devil Survivor and Strange Journey. I can see what you did there, Alice, with your Devil Survivor and your Derek Styles. And getting back on track, it should be noted how Devil Survivor and Strange Journey both came out 4 years after this article, and adding on to this, I did find a 2004 IGN article listing off newly announced DS games with a DS SMT title being in there. From there I can compare that to other games that came out. Let's see, Battle Network for the DS? Could be Battle Network 5 Double Team DS, which came out between 2004 and 2005. It depends where it was released. Sonic DS? We can assume that game was gonna be Sonic Rush, or that game is Sonic Rush, and which came out in 2005, just a year after the list. There's also Mario 64 times 4. What a name. We can tell that's Mario 64 DS because, obviously, which came out a few months after this article. From here, we can deduce a few things from this. So, the SMT game from the GameSpot list could be either Devil Survivor or Strange Journey, assuming one of those games had like a relatively long development cycle. An SMT game for the DS that was cancelled, an SMT game for the DS that was shelved but came back from the dead as Devil Survivor or Strange Journey. I like to think that's the last point because it helps me sleep at night. Goro QDS. This is similar to the Max Portable thing, where it was announced and vanished. That day for all those Chikoro Q fans who can't play this game on the go. And lastly, a new SMT game on the PS3. It's kinda strange to think how SMT fans didn't get an SMT game in the PS3 console generation. We can theorize that this game could have been SMT4, but it got delayed and or repurposed into a 3DS title. Strangely enough, that's what happened to Yokai Watch. I know it's a different developer and everything, but kinda odd to think about. To counter that point I just made, according to Wikipedia, the reason why there was a 10-year gap between Nocturne and SMT4 was that Atlus was busy making other games. Another idea I had was that maybe the article was speaking too soon. While the PS3 came out in 2006 in Japan, games were still being released during that console generation, like Persona 4 coming out in 2008. Maybe it was Persona 4, but it just came out on the PS2. Whatever it was, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this and the other games mentioned in the list. Oh boy, folks, time to talk about mobile games. Atlus has made a ton of mobile games in the past, and some got snapped off the internet while others got a second chance at life through recent re-releases. So let's talk about them. I guess First Mission was a 2007 phone game developed by Atlus and BBFM, which is a company that works on mobile games. Originally called Aegis Zero in early press releases, this game takes place 10 years before the original Persona 3, where you play as Aegis. The general gist of the story is that Aegis is learning what it's like to experience human emotion, while training against enemy shadows and all that jazz. As for the gameplay, I'm paraphrasing the SMT wiki because I don't dig deep. You control Aegis with the D-pad, but it's a cell phone so it's a little bit awkward. And you can shoot with the zero key. Over the course of the game, Aegis gains experience and money that's used to unlock skills and purchase equipment. There's some neat things about this game, like how we get to see a younger Mitsuru and Ichiro Takeba. I think the idea of this game is pretty neat, even if it's just a spin-off game. And the fact that Atlus decided to re-release this game on Steam is pretty cool. It gives me hope for the rest of these games. Unless they're already on Steam and I didn't really check it. Anyway, Persona 3 EM is another 2007 Atlus and BBFM developed game that takes place during the Yakushima trip. This game tries to replicate the basic gameplay Persona 3 by making friends by daylight and fighting shadows by moonlight. The plot of the game is that during the trip, the members of Cease go to sleep and wake up in the Nightmare Hour, not to be confused with the Dark Hour, and they must explore Oniros. Social links work similar to how they are in Persona 3. However, Maximum doesn't level the persona and instead grants the player some items. Interestingly enough, in this game you can talk to Akihiko and Junpei. Because, you can't really do that in the original game, and that feature was included in Portable, so that's neat. This game even has a New Game Plus upon completing it. Overall, it's pretty much a bite-sized Persona 3 experience. Like the Aegis game, this game is pretty difficult to play today unless someone out there has, some backup or anything I don't really know. Which is unlikely because Japan has strict piracy laws and phone games back then weren't as booming as they are today, so it's kind of sad. Unless Atlus decides to... Shin Megami Tensei 20XX is a 2004 phone game developed by Atlus about demons causing an apocalypse, so the ambassador for America launches an ICBM to wipe out the demons while destroying Tokyo in the process. The actual main plot is related to the protagonist being told by a strange man that they have to train in a coliseum to overthrow the center, which is trying to take over Valhalla, which is where they live, and Shin Megami Tensei 20XX Devil's Coliseum is a prequel to that game, which was in this game was released in 2007, which was also developed by Atlus. In this game's story, it's about the protagonist entering the Coliseum so they can uncover the mystery. These games were part of a dead subscription service, so they're pretty lost. Except, not really. The first game I mentioned, 20XX, got re-released on modern consoles, so that's cool. Jack's Quest Demonic Hell Party is a 2004 Atlus-developed phone game that stars the Jack Bros as they sort out various problems for the guild. The game generally plays like a mystery dungeon game, and it's another dead Megaton game that was a part of a subscription service. Adding on to that, the service also offered other Megaton mobile games and novels, so I wonder if those novels are lost too, or if they're archived somewhere. I don't really know what the novels are about, or what they were, so it sounds like something that's more obscure on the English internet, so maybe it's more well known overseas. Persona Mobile Online was a 2009 MMO online game made by the good old Atlus and BBFM duo. The game plays similarly to Persona 3, though with some changes, such as the social link system being changed to Arcana points, which are obtained by teaming up with other players with the same Arcana as the player. The player plays as a Yamari High School student whose main goal is to rid the world of shadows. The game features some typical MMO elements such as being able to chat, block, and trade with other players. I think the concept of this game is pretty interesting with it being an online Persona game, though I don't know its overall quality. There are probably countless other MMOs that did this concept already, though, maybe nowadays this idea could, be fleshed out more since Persona is a bit more popular and I hate saying this, but you could take advantage of some kind of gacha system. Unfortunately, honestly, this idea has potential, I think, especially nowadays. Again. Also, I've never played Persona 5: The Phantom X. Time for a bonus, not a mobile game, but still pretty close enough. It's Persona 3 The Night Before. So Persona 3 The Night Before was a free web-based game released in 2006 and closed in 2008. The game takes place the night before the original Persona 3 starts. The game doesn't feature any of the characters we know outside of Igor. The general gameplay is defeating shadows to reach the top of Tartarus. There's more to that. Players can choose whether they want to fight against shadows or be a shadow. There isn't really a lot of information on this game. I get it's a mystery though. Reading up about it, I'm assuming that it was a pretty simple game. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Show was a 50-episode anime that started airing October 7th, 2000 and went all the way to September 27th, 2001. It's an adaptation of the Devil Children games, which are supposed to be a spin-off series of SMT geared towards a younger audience. The story of the anime revolves around a boy named Sasuna Kai who moves into a new city that gets crushed by hail. So Sasuna meets a scientist who tells him that he's a devil child. After that, the scientist sends Sasuna and another devil child named Mirai into another world called the Expanse so they can stop Lucifer. After the show ended, it got a sequel series called Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children Light and Dark, which had 52 episodes. This anime started airing on October 5th, 2002, and went on until September 27, 2003. The plot is about these three friends, Jin, Akira, and Lena, finding this book, and after reading it, they summon demons and become the Devil Children. Then they go to Valhalla, where they have to fight a bad guy named Imperius who wants world domination. So after both of these series ended, only the first series got a home media release, making it pretty obscure on the English internet, while the second series didn't receive one. However, on September 22, 2020, an Internet Archive user by the name of Peacock found all 50 episodes of the first Devil Chi anime for the whole world to see. Meanwhile, for the second series though, all the episodes were uploaded onto Nika Nico by Nudoru in 2009, but they were removed due to copyright infringement. Fortunately, there are re-uploads of episodes 1 to 8 and 21 to 52 by user Kakukaku000 Shikajika on Dailymotion, which were later re-uploaded onto the Internet Archive by Megami, leaving episodes 9 to 20 still lost. Allegedly, the whole series is available on YouTube, but the videos are set to private. They've done a great job so far, but there's still the 12 remaining episodes that are missing. So I'm pretty hopeful that it could get found someday, or maybe the series could be released on a streaming service, or it finally gets a home media release. So since the show is pretty obscure, I decided to watch an episode of Light and Dark, and while getting footage, I kinda skipped through the anime a little to get an impression and see what the show's like, even though I didn't understand what anyone was saying. The only episode I understood was the one that had subs, so I watched it. So, that's the show. I wish there were more episodes so that I could, get into the meat of the show a bit more, because I feel like I didn't really get, a grasp. I got an impression, but, not really, a firm grasp. The first episode had a lot of exposition regarding the lore of the world, and these kids were really so on board with reading a freaky book they found in the library. And also, if me and my friends were transported into a strange world and my friends got cool monster buddies and I was relegated to their Pokedex holder, I would be so mad. In a way, the show kind of reminded me of Digimon's and Monster Rancher's premise, since it's children getting transported into another world and getting monster buddies, and they have to save that world, being an isekai and everything. While for the first series, my impression of just looking at the footage, not knowing what anyone is saying, and just watching things go, I feel a bit more intrigued by the first series compared to the second, and I don't really know why. I maybe it's how things work in that series, where they can kind of go in and out of the isekai. I'm not really sure if they do that in the second, but they kind of look stuck, but I'm not sure. Kind of makes me wonder what would happen if the show was ever picked up to get an English dub, because this feels like the kind of show 4Kids would pick up, but then scrub away any mentions of demons and that kind of stuff, because they can't do that. At the same time, it does kind of look like a show that would be picked up to rival Pokemon and Digimon. Now, with all that said, as it turns out, there was a point in time where the Devil Children anime almost had an English dub done by TMS Entertainment, I think. And it looks like not a lot would have changed, judging by the trailer. Character names remain the same, though they call the Cerberus a Hellhound, which is a choice. Unfortunately, the trailer was more of a plot synopsis with no showcase of the voices.
Who better to fight these demons than our young heroes Setsuna and Mirai, both possessing the Devil genomes? Coming soon from TMS, meet the Devil Children as they fight the forces of evil in Divi Chill. Setsuna is a 5th grade boy who has just moved into town, hoping to start a new life. Unfortunately, a freak hailstorm destroys his new home, and he's left completely lost and alone. He is befriended by a zany old scientist, Hiromi, who rambles on about devil children and the existence of other worlds. Intrigued, Setsuna follows Hiromi to his lab, and soon learns that Earth is comprised of 2 worlds, the one in which humans live, and another, known as Hades.
Oh well. Maybe the dub didn't get that far in production, or maybe it never really existed. Probably because I am assuming what scared people off was that Pokemon went through so much trouble in the 90s with the Satanic Panic controversy, calling the Pokemon demons and everything. So, like, that would be very controversial with an anime with actual demons and demon summoning. But Digimon! The show's pretty interesting to skim through. It really made me wonder what would have happened if the show actually came to the West during the 2000s, and how it would have compared against other similar anime that were on at the time, like Digimon or Monster Ranger. I also wonder if there's a chance of this franchise coming back someday, if Atlus feels like it. Honestly, I kinda want to hear your thoughts on the show because I'm genuinely curious.
Hee-haw!
This is a bit of a debatable one to talk about, since this isn't really lost media, because it's pretty safe on Nico Nico in the Internet Archive and YouTube. But I want to talk about it since it's a bit strange and obscure. If it seems like I'm going to go on a random tangent, then yes I am. So Devil Summoner had a TV show of the same name created by Suburura Entertainment. It ran from 1997 to 98, and it was originally going to be 13 episodes, but due to popular demand, it got a second season with more episodes. According to the Megaton Wiki, the first season of the show was loosely based off the game, while the second season did its own thing. And according to someone on Reddit, the second season of the show was difficult to come across, but now it isn't. So that's cool. I only watched the first 2 episodes because they were the only ones I could find subbed at the time while I was writing this. Because now there's a YouTube playlist with all the episodes subbed, or at least I believe the episodes from season 1. So that's pretty cool. Personally, from what I saw, I think the show started kind of slow and it's a bit campy. Though it's kind of endearing with how campy it is. I think it's kind of charming. And I don't blame the show for, starting a bit slow, because, it's establishing the norm. I'm sure, things will pick up later, if I ever got around to watching the later episodes. I also like the premise with it having, a detective demon summoner. I think that's pretty cool. So far, I think the setup, while slow, is, pretty neat. I might give more episodes a look, out of curiosity if I ever get the time. And if you're an adult, you can check out the show too, if you want. I say if you're an adult because the first episode of this show has some pretty explicit hee-hoing, and it's not for kiddos. So honestly, for a show of a game I've never played, it's not a bad impression. If you want more of an overview of the show, you can check out this video by Marsh, because I think they seem to know what they're talking about.
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Persona 2 Another Self was a cancelled anime adaptation of the Persona 2 video games. The OVA of the anime can be found in the Persona 2 bonus disc. However, we only have 5 minutes of this animation, which is pretty crazy to think about. The first anime adaptation of Persona would have started with 2 had this OVA taken off. Really makes you wonder how it would have looked had this got more episodes outside of 5 minutes.
このミッシェル様の目の黒いうちは勝手な真似は許しゃしないぜ。
Of course, there are other things in this bonus disc, such as interviews with the game's devs and other neat stuff. But have you ever wondered what was in the Japanese version of the bonus disc? Well, for starters, there's a lot more content. It plays like a TV watching simulator. What makes it different from watching TV in real life? Well, you're watching TV in Sumaru City. In this simulator, the menu is like a television guide. You can watch television stuff such as the weather, the news, the previous mentioned interviews, and of course, the anime trailer. After watching the trailer, you'll get a little message stating that it will air every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Sumaru TV. It's a fictional show for a fictional channel. You've been duped. To clarify things, basically people back then thought that Persona 2 was going to receive an anime adaptation because of how the English bonus disc lacked the channel guide menu, and by extension, the context that it was for a fictional channel. It's a bit strange since all these anime and movie websites consider this anime as like an actual anime rather than one made for a game. Another thing I find weird is how I can't seem to find the animation studio behind this animation. I mean, I assume, like, there is one out there, or like, there is like, information on it out there, I just don't know how to search for it.
The enemy!
I'm gonna be honest, I think calling a person or people lost media is kind of weird. So this is just gonna be a segment on uncredited voice roles. Since Persona was a relatively niche franchise in 2007, voice actors may not feel inclined to have their voice credits attached to work that they may not feel proud of. With that in mind, you may have noticed in games such as Persona Q and Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight that Ken and Fuka got recasted. In Persona 3 Portable, they didn't even bring people in to record lines. Instead, they just reused old clips, sometimes where it doesn't really fit.
Most kind of you. Now, shall we begin?
Who is that? Is it just me? Or does it seem like she wants to fight? What? Her power is unbelievable! Who is she?
So this brings up the question, who were the original voice credits? According to Behind the Voice, Paula Tiso may have been behind Fuko's voice. She was active around this time doing roles such as Laughing Octopus from Metal Gear and Sylvia Crystal from No More Heroes, and she's still doing Sylvia, even in the most recent No More Heroes game. So if she's still active, then why was she replaced by Wendy Lee in Q and Dancing? Well, sources that credit Paula have never been confirmed. Some people speculate that it's Paula because sometimes in her other roles she sounds a bit like Fuka, still though not confirmed. Another actress people speculate is Mela Lee, who's also done Tiki from Fire Emblem and Nancy from Rune Factory. Again, similar to Paula, there is no confirmation that it was her. When Atlus needed to recast Fuka, they used Wendy Lee instead in Dancing in Moonlight, and Suzy Ying for Reloaded now. Ken has a similar case too, with him also not being credited. Websites like Behind the Voice don't even have a name attached to him, so fans did what they do best and speculate. Carolyn Hennessy is a name that shows up a lot in speculation. She's done stuff. She doesn't have the longest list of behind the voices, but she did do some work on the Dot Hack series. Another name that shows up is Mona Marshall, who's done a lot of work on Digimon as well as Izzy. Izzy from Digimon, the character named Izzy. She's also done Penny from Inspector Gadget and a ton of South Park characters too. But yeah, it's still not confirmed if she's Ken or not. Another name that pops up is Brian Brosey, who's also done a lot of work on Digimon, and some stuff for Atelier too. Similar to Fuga, they recast Ken in Dancing and All Night with Cindy Robinson, and for Reloaded they go with Justine Lee. I want to say here that just because these people are like speculated here, that does not confirm if they actually did the role, so don't harass them over this sort of thing. And wherever the original voice actors are, I wish them the best. If you want to know more about this topic, I recommend watching this video by Twigs. They go more into detail about it, and more, so it's pretty fun watch and I recommend it. Merchandise time! I'm a bit surprised that there's some Persona 5 lost media in this. This is a Ren figure that only got the base color treatment, and it got cancelled. It was going to be manufactured by Fat Company and was sculpted by Satoru Misuru, who also did some previous Persona 5 figures and many others. While it wasn't officially announced as cancelled, the editor, who I think runs this page, sent an email to the Fat Company confirming its status.
I'm sorry, Teddy. Only people have human rights.
Persona X Detective Naoto is a non-canon spin-off manga adaptation of the very much fan-beloved light novel of the same name. It was written by Natsuki Marimina, not to be confused with the Yellow Ranger, and was illustrated by Satoshi Shiki, who also illustrated the Persona 3 and 4 mangas. The plot revolves around Naoto 1 year after the events of Persona 4, investigating the mysterious disappearance of 2 Yagatoro students. She's also partnered up with a robot character named Genesis. The manga was first published in the magazine Dengeki Maro, and ran from 2012 to 2015. The first 12 chapters of the manga were easily available in 2 volumes. However, chapter 13 to 19 never got this treatment. I can only assume it was because the big manga company doesn't care about its beloved consumers and hid it away from us. Volume 3 had a release date, but it never happened, and people didn't really care because it's Persona X Detective Naoto, who the heck cares? Well, some people did. So basically, YouTuber Filler made a video telling people that the manga is lost media. 2 days later, one of their subscribers named Eurizia sent him some of the missing chapters of the manga, and an extra one that we didn't know about. So that's pretty sweet. Eurizia got these from a Flickr account called Juandroxpol, I don't know how it's pronounced, 07, 7 years ago. How many of you remember Flickr? Later after that, one of Fiddler's subscribers named Mont Blanc sent him another missing chapter, and then after that, wrapping the saga up, Fiddler announces another video that the elusive Juan Rox emailed him the missing chapter. With that, the entirety of the manga is found. Since it's here, let's give it a bit of a read. Okay, so I kind of feel like this manga was kind of in one ear and out the other, so I'll try to keep my thoughts on it brief. I just thought it was kind of I know that it's considered kind of mid online, and I wasn't offended by it, but I also wasn't really impressed by it either. I thought that Naoto took some steps back when it came to her character, in a where we're treading ground again kind of way. So I do understand why, because like you gotta have a character arc and everything. There are some neat ideas, like we go from the Midnight Channel to the Midnight Site, and I think that's neat even if they function in different ways. And another neat thing is that characters can use their personas in the real world now, like sort of like JoJo stance. And the persona abilities are a bit more passive than combative, which I think works for a story like this, since it's more of a mystery story than a story where the characters are fighting shadows or whatever. Naoto also gets a new persona which can tune the abilities of other persona, which means like it can strengthen or weaken them. Meanwhile, for Genesis, his persona can hear the last thoughts of dead people, sort of like that one character in Trauma Center. The art is good and the paneling's good. I apologize if I'm rambling a bit. Would I recommend this manga? I guess not really. I mean, if you're curious about it and you want a bit more persona, then like you can check it out and like form your own thoughts. Like I wouldn't say it was a waste of my time. Like it has some neat ideas, I admit. So I just feel like some things could have been improved. I could see these ideas working, but I think the execution was just a bit Even though, like, yeah, I think if it was fleshed out a bit more, or like explored more, it could have been like pretty neat. I do like the idea of like following Naoto after the events of Persona 4, because like, I mean, I can see some potential there, honestly, and I think that's an interesting idea. I've always liked the trope of seeing a character like grow up a little bit over time, and you can just look at them and think like, oh, look how much you've grown. And I also like seeing more passive persona abilities too, and like I guess real world usage, even though that's just JoJo. Still though, for the story overall, it was still kind of Still a good thing was found though. I've been working on this video for so long. I'm so glad I'm done. I can finally take a break. I'm so glad. And that's some lost and obscure Shin Megami Tensei and Persona media. And just some Atlus stuff in general. I feel like I might have retreaded some pretty well-known topics, but hey, if you found it interesting, then I'm glad. Again, check out the description if you want to read through some of the stuff I found. And with all that said, have a nice day or night, and yeah.